June the 7th of 2022. This is the public hearing being hosted by the Richland 1 Board of Commissioners in regards to our reapportioning map. Pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, the public has been provided access to this live stream of the meeting via the district's website, which is www.richland1.org, as well as in person with limited seating. This is a public hearing with one agenda item, which is the reapportionment map, which is going to be presented by Attorney Williams. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the agenda. as
Second.
presented.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented by Commissioner Devine. It's been seconded by Commissioner Myers. We'll open the floor for any questions or discussions. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those that disapprove say nay. Ayes have it. Let the record reflect that all Board of Commissioners are present with the exception of Commissioner Bishop. At this time, we will move to 4, which is Office of the Board, 4.1, which is the reapportioning map. Attorney Williams, you now have the floor. Thank you.
Madam Chair, the district has been working on this matter for several months, and Attorney Imani Newborn has worked with it as well, and she will come and at this time describe what was done with the maps. We have the maps up here for you to view. At the very top is seat 1. That is Dr. Bishop, Commissioner Bishop. We have seat 2, which is Mr. Devine, and seat 3, which is Mrs. King, and at the bottom of the map, Lower Richland, which is really not impacted by this at all. So the discussion will be on seats 1, 2, and 3. And at this time, we'll have Ms. Newborn to come up.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners, Superintendent. Thank you all for allowing me to be here. My name is Imani Newborn. I'm from the firm of Boykin and Davis. And I just want to give you a brief overview of the changes. And first of all, the reason for the changes is the fact that based on the 2020 U.S. Census, the population in Richland 1 grew about approximately 1,508 people over the last decade. This population growth was not evenly distributed among the 4 single-member districts. So we had to redraw the lines in order to comply with the constitutional requirement of 1 person, 1 vote. The rule refers to equal protection rule, which states that 1 person's voting power ought to be roughly equivalent to another person's voting power within the same state. So we had a lot of growth within District 3, and we had a little bit of population loss in Richland 3 is around downtown Columbia. We had a loss of population in northern Columbia, which is District 1. So we proposed some minimum changes. That was our basic strategy, along with making sure that we complied with the conditional principles of redistricting, the constitutional and relevant constitutional law. But most of all, we wanted to make sure that we took into consideration compactness and minimal change. So let's go into the changes that were made. As far as District 1, or Seat 1, we added 1 precinct because, like I said before, District 1 needed to gain population. So we added which is called the Arsenal Hill neighborhood, which is where is that? Oh, sorry. Okay. The Arsenal Hill neighborhood, which is Ward 30. I don't know if y'all can see this right here. All right, so we added that. We took that from seat 2, added that to seat 1, which is just the Arsenal Hill neighborhood right there. That is basically around the St. Andrews and Broad River corridor. Take into consideration a minimum change. We wanted to we looked at the attendance zones. We saw that the individuals in Ward 30 were zoned for Columbia High School. So we thought it just made sense to move those individuals from seat 2 in Ward 30 to seat 1, so that all those families would be zoned for Columbia High School. We thought that was a pretty logical change, also a minimum change as well. So since we did that, and seat 2 basically didn't have an issue with the population, but since we did take Ward 30 from there, we needed to add some population to seat 2, I'm sorry. So what we did, we had to add part of a precinct. We had to split the precinct, but still maintain our strategy of minimum change, and we split what is called the Ward 1, which consists of the University Hills neighborhood and also the state capitol area. So we split that along Pickens Street, and I don't know if you can see that down there. I'll show you right here, if y'all can see that. So we ended up splitting that precinct. So the University Hills neighborhood is intact, and it remains in seat 3. In the area west of the University Hills neighborhood, which consists of the state capitol area and the southern part of USC, such as like the Horseshoe in that area, that is actually going to be moved to seat 2. So that was the main change for seat 2. We also had a little bit of a compactness issue. So what we did, we added the Fairwold community to seat 2 as well, just to deal with the compactness issue that we had from taking part of that precinct or splitting that precinct in Arsenal and the Arsenal neighborhood, for making that move. So we also made that change as well. So that's all for District 1, and that's all for District 2. So District 3, of course, as you know, lost part of that split precinct, and that was pretty much all the change for seat 3. There was no changes from seat 4. So at this time, does anyone have any questions?
Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. This is actually a public hearing, so the questions are going to come from anyone that signed up to speak in regards to the presentation on tonight, Commissioner. Ms. Williams, did we have anyone sign up on tonight to speak in the hearing? Okay. Attorney Williams, you can tell us how we proceed from here, because this is a public hearing, correct, to hear from the public? Okay. Okay, absolutely. Okay. Right.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay. All right, we'll open the floor for any board members that may have any questions. All right, Commissioner King, Commissioner Lomanak.
I appreciate it. Unfortunately, I was not able to make it at the first presentation, but I did go back into my homework, and I saw the presentation, which was very clear.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation, which was very clear.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm seat 3, and I don't have a question for that one particularly, but it would be really helpful. Last time we did this process, we also had the opportunity to have how do you call it? A super, where you take the old one, you put the new one, you see what the changes are. So that would be kind of a good visual to have. And secondly, if we could get the new, so the existing numbers, voting age population, black, white, non-Hispanic, Hispanic, and all of that, the generic thing that the board of whatever, the people at the State House have. And then the new percentages, that would be really helpful. Do you have that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was in the
But-
presentation. We can post that. That can be posted.
Right, and then, so
We can
you said that in 10 years, the growth was only 1,500 people
Yes.
in 10
Yes.
years. So do you know what the population change for that was?
Do I know what? I'm sorry.
Do you know what percentage that represents?
Percentage as far as, What-
Let me answer that question. Population change, Commissioner King. If you recall, the board did reapportioning in 2016. So from 2016 to 2022, those are the numbers. That is not the number from 10 years ago. So that's not correct.
Well, are you?
So I just
I'm
wanted to
sorry.
clarify that for you.
That's what I understood from your presentation, that from the 2010 to the 2020 census, those are the census data that you quoted, right?
yes.
Okay, so the population change in 10 years is 1,500.
My understanding. Yes, we're looking at 2016, the census that was taken in 2016.
There was,
Remember we reapportioned in
Yeah,
2016.
because the 2016 was based on the 2010.
Right.
It just wasn't done.
Yeah.
Then it was done in 16,
Right.
and now we have the 2020
No, I-
census is now on 2020.
Right.
okay, but
Back
the
on
census is only taken every 10 years. So there was no census in 2016. We did do a reapportionment in 2016, but there was no census.
Based on 2010.
Right.
So, okay, so since 2016, there's, okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner Lomanak.
Just two questions, and I think one might be for you, Madam Chairwoman. But the first question is, this is the same map and suggestion as the one presented at our first hearing about this, right? Okay,
Yes.
just want to make sure. It
Yes,
sounded
sir.
the same. I don't want to make sure there are no differences. And then Chairwoman Harris, I know NAACP submitted something to us. Are they going to present anything or show? Okay,
What they presented, they thought that we were not doing our
I gotcha.
apportioning, and when I spoke to them and assured them that we were actually getting ready to do ours.
Okay.
Their map is pretty much almost identical to ours,
Okay.
pretty much, yeah. So, they stood down.
Thank you.
Because they knew we were already handling it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right, any other questions? Commissioner King?
Last one, just because I wasn't there last time, and I couldn't really understand when I went back through the tape, but what is the process? Because the session is not in, I mean, the House is not in session, what's the?
The process at this point in time is after the board votes on Tuesday, if they're to vote to affirm it, we would then take this to our delegation for them to approve it. The delegation right now is doing callbacks because, believe it or not, because of the civil rights case, I believe through the NAACP, they have to look at reapportionment, so it's perfect timing actually for us. So in talking to our leaders there in the delegation, they're waiting for us to get through our process to hand it over to them.
So, in the first time we did it, the entire House had to vote on it. What's the difference now?
It's the delegation. The delegation has to approve it.
Okay, is there, okay, what's the change from last time?
I don't think that they necessarily, that everybody had to approve it. I think that it had to be our delegation, but because we were in session,
Okay.
they presented it all at that time.
Okay,
Yeah.
and is that okay, is it the majority of the delegation, or?
I believe so. Yeah, they're to approve our maps.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Commissioner Devine?
Thank you. Does this prohibit voting practices that result in citizens being denied equal access to the political process on account of race, color, or membership in a language minority group, and voting practices adopted or maintained for the purpose of discrimination on those bases?
That's an intent to prevent any of that, any voter discrimination.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Devine. Any other questions or comments at this time? If not, thank you so very much.
Okay.
We have now exhausted the agenda for tonight. Certainly want to thank everyone for coming. If there are not any other objections from the board, we can now consider ourselves dismissed. Have a good evening.